Now listen up, Gen Z, cause I've had enough of it. This whole cancel culture. Damn, y'all are so sensitive. At first I ignored it, but now you crossed the line by going after a very dear friend of mine. You wanna cancel Eminem cause he's too aggressive and mean? Your feelings are hurt, you...
Oh, God. Please, no. Eminem does not need you to fucking pick up his slack, homie.
Hello everyone, my name is John Hammond and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're looking at some Hack the Box, showcasing the remote room that retires today. It is an easy, I guess medium, no, easy. It's an easy Windows box. I'm just not that good because it's Windows, but I wanted to showcase this, walk through it with you. So here it is, remote, and we have an IP address to work against. It's 1010.
You guys watch this for just a second and I'll be right back.
10.10.180. We can fire up a command line and get to where the good stuff happens. So I'm gonna head over to my Hack the Box folder and I'll make a directory for YouTube remote and hop over there. So we could start with some good practice, actually create a little README file, and I will just put in some classic notes. Hello, this is me writing this on the day, which is September 45th. And here's the IP address of the machine. Let's start off with the classic rustscan. I'll pipe this into a rustscan.log, so to T that, and we can see what we're up against. Okay, some ports that are open. We see port 21 for FTP, port 80 for HTTP, 111, I think that's RPC bind. I always get that maybe wrong or something. 139, 135, 2049. Okay, so maybe some network file share stuff. 5985, that's odd and peculiar. You don't see him all that often. Port 5985, what is that? WinRM? WinRM? Oh. Okay, I mean, it's Windows. That makes sense. Maybe Nmap. Yeah, rustscan will pass it over to Nmap and we'll kind of get a better idea as to what all those things are. But since we have some things to poke at, let me get started with some classic enumeration. I'll do a little Nikto on that guy. T that to get an output file. I'll do the same thing with some GoBuster, HTTP, and I'll use a word list from the default word list that comes from Dirbuster. Alrighty, now let's go check out the web page. Welcome to Acme. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Wile E. Coyote, genius. I'm not selling anything, nor am I working my way through college. Check out our products. Okay, awesome. A couple of blog posts. Looks like all lorem ipsum text. If I click on any of those, do I get an idea of a username? This page loads. Nope, no username. More lorem ipsum and nonsense. Products. Is that a real link? Yeah, it is. Our gorgeous selection of unicorns, ping pong balls, and a jumpsuit. Okay. Nice, crazy people. Great. Oh, are these real links? Circuit Beard. Oh, yeah, these are. Super cool. Great. Let me just click on the source here. Let me hit Control U and kind of see what it's built in the HTML. I see some HTML comments for navigation, media, links, add links to categories. A lot of that to do HTML comment, read links to categories. Scripts Umbraco, or Umbraco. I always pronounce that wrong. I don't know the best way to pronounce it, but that's an indicator that Umbraco might be on here. And if you Google what that is, it is a CMS or content management system. If you haven't heard of it before, I think I've kind of seen it a little bit in other capture flags or training exercises or activities. Let's see what Dirbuster or GoBuster's got. pretty much the same thing as previous and what we've already just seen through the web page. Nikto get anything yet? Nope. Nmap scan is done. Let me try and subble that Rust scan log, and that's going to have all the gross colors. So if you wanted to, you could less tac R that, and that way you can see the colors there, at least from your terminal. But scrolling through it, just to get a better idea of these ports. Okay, we do have anonymous FTP. We could potentially log in with that. HTTP, yeah, RPC bind stuff. 2049, NFS, network file share. Maybe there's something interesting in that. And that's all it's got for me. Okay. Well, if we have FTP, I guess we could take a look at that. 10.10.10.180 with my FTP client. We did see from our Nmap scan that anonymous share or anonymous access was enabled. So username will be anonymous and password could just be empty. You can whack enter there. Let's see what we have. Nothing. Okay. And we can't go any farther than that or explore anything else, so that's not helpful. Fantastic. What else did we have? We had port 80, which we're looking at, and we had the NFS share. I don't see anything else other than that intranet that they're going on. And we didn't actually poke at that intranet page. Is there anything over there? It's still mentioning Umbraco in the CSS here. Umbraco. Someone's gonna give me flack. Someone's gonna hate on me for not knowing how to pronounce that. Does anyone know how to pronounce that? That's the same sort of thing. You like, how do you pronounce Radar 2? Radare. Radare. I don't know. Radar? GIF. Starting the holy wars here. If Umbraco is a thing, is that a location that, like, it's a content management system, like the same thing like WordPress might be. So maybe there's a page for that. In my cursory research on it, just for the showcase, content management system, publishing World Wide Web content, written in C# deployed on Microsoft stuff. That tracks with me because we're looking at this on a Windows machine. Just doing some quick learning and reading to see. Documentation can be found there. It's open source. Are there any like default locations that it adds? Oh, where's all this? Build. What is this guy? Quick tutorials. Creating a basic site. Oh goodness, can I just get to content? When you hit your localhost address or whatever you're setting up, you should see welcome to the Umbraco installation screen. And then log into your Umbraco CMS installation on /Umbraco in your browser. Is that a thing? GoBuster hasn't found that yet, or Nikto hasn't found that. Maybe we could try some other stuff or like add it into our word list. But if I just simply try to go to Umbraco or Umbraco, oh, I have a login. Happy Funky Friday. Fantastic. A username is usually your email and password. So I can't just try like a classic admin or like a stupid little SQL injection. Will that get me anywhere? Ooh, does that reflect out what I have in there? Can I do like some cross-site scripting? Hello. Please sub. That's a better one. That's a better one to throw in here. Please sub. Slap that in. Nah, okay. Whatever. Okay. We know, though, that there is a login here. And we could do some other enumeration because there are still some other ports that we haven't looked at yet. Taking a look at this, we know we have 21 was a dead end, 80 was the web page, obviously, and 2049, NFS, or network file share. So if you guys aren't familiar with mounting and looking at machines that have NFS shares, typically you can start with just a show mount command, and TAC-E will show mount. What does the TAC-E actually do? Oh, if you like kind of the colors that I'm using within within Bash, in my Linux command line. I'm using Batman or Bat, some of the shell extensions that come with the Bat package. TAC-E and exports will show the NFS server's export list. So the same way that I'm looking at like cat, if I cat out my README, it has kind of nice color stuff. So if you're interested, go ahead and take a look at that. Anyway, show mount TAC-E on our server here, 10.10.10.180, and they have a site backups that everyone could access. Ooh, could I try and mount that? I'm going to make a temporary directory that just matches the same thing. Oh, with a incredible typo. Dope. Make directory backups. And I already have one of those. So I'll recreate it for the sake of video. And then let's go ahead and try and mount to it. So you can mount TAC-T NFS. So mount specifying the type, network file share, and then what you actually want to mount. So you're going to specify the share with the IP address and a colon, and then you can just specify the share that you're actually looking for. So in this case, it's site backups, as we got that from show mount. And then you need the location as to where you're actually going to put it. So I'll put it in that temporary directory site backups that I created. And you do need root privileges to do that. So whack a little sudo on there. And there we go. Okay. Let's hop over there to site backups. And we got a lot of stuff. Ooh, Umbraco client. Umbraco. I'm just going to like permutate all the potential possibilities of me saying that. And let's run like a find on here to see like everything that's in here. And I'll put it in my location where I'm working on this. I'll put in my notes like NFS listing.txt. Let's see what we get. Or anything. Is find not going to like buffer that or showcase that for me? Oh, no, now there's stuff happening. What do we got in here? So what we could do is we could kind of trim this down, open it in like Sublime Text or an editor, and just kind of like remove the things that we know that we don't care about. That could kind of help us look for interesting things and prune for the potentially peculiar stuff that we might be able to find some valuable and juicy information with. Because a lot of the stuff like, okay, Google Maps pictures, we probably don't care about. Same thing with like, I don't know, views. Oh, and there is some of the binary stuff for Umbraco. Config files will probably be useful for us because maybe there's some more information as to how this thing is actually being put together. Yeah, CSS files, though, we don't need to care about. Media files, images, and there's a ton of assets and fonts in Umbraco that we probably don't care about. Blah, blah, blah. JavaScript files, Angular. Yeah, okay. A lot more JavaScript, TinyMCE, there's some code editing. Settings, views, settings. ASPX files. So this is, I guess, my process for like at least getting a quick snapshot of everything that's in there. Obviously, Find will return a ton of stuff, but you can kind of narrow this down and prune it down and look for interesting things if you wanted to. Oh, whoops, I accidentally like pasted whatever I was searching. There is a web.config, and that is usually something worthwhile to look at. So let me go ahead and cat out that web.config, and Bat is giving us the nice color-coded output, and there is a lot of configuration stuff for Umbraco and Umbraco. Image processor, config, Umbraco settings config. We could save that. Maybe take a look at that one if we wanted to. What else do we have in here? App settings. Connection strings. Ooh. Yeah, is this thing going to use it like a database? Umbraco DB database DSN. Whoa, what just happened? Why did it bring me to the top of the file? Did I lose that? Did I just lose what I was looking at? There we go. Umbraco DB DSN. What is that DSN? Connection string with instance of Umbraco DSN. So that's definitely the database. Yeah. Okay, and that might be where it normally stores like a database and password. So since we're looking at Hack the Box, right, there's no other box that it's going to like reach out and connect to. This isn't going to be a full-blown network. It's going to data source, data directory, umbraco.sdf. Ooh. Is it a local file or it's storing the database? What is this Umbraco SDF thing? You can see some of my previous research. Is it just like a local database? SDF file. Spatial data file is a single user geodatabase file format developed by Autodesk. I don't know if that's the same thing I'm looking at. Standard database format. That sounds a little bit more like what I'm looking at. Do I have that file? These are variables, data source, data directory, I think. I guess I can just look for this Umbraco SDF. So let me find and grep for that guy. See what I have here. Please get a hit. Please, please, please. Okay. App data Umbraco.sdf. If I file that guy, what is it going to tell me? Data. Incredible. Fantastic. That's super duper useful. Just strings it, dude. Let's see if we get anything interesting in that. Ooh, yeah. Okay. Oh, this file's ginormous. Oh, and these are all like the blog posts and ooh, the products. Nice crazy people. Heck yeah. Let me less this. See what we got. Ooh, right at the top. Administrator, admin, default, EN user, or US. Some GUID, GUID. Administrator, admin, and that looks like a hash. Yeah, and then it specifies hash algorithm SHA-1. Whoa. Okay, and that's repeated a little bit. So this looks like a potential hash. We could slap this in our README. NFS share found app data umbraco.sdf. Can I crack that hash? It's a SHA-1 hash. Crack station. Yeah, like crack hash online, please. And that's totally the definition of crack station. Slap that in there. Fail at a CAPTCHA. Bacon and cheese. Fantastic. For the admin user, right? And that had his email in here. It's admin being his username and admin at htb.local looks like an email address. So can I log in with that? Bacon and cheese. Ooh, nice. Yeah. Okay, logged in. What can I do with this? Media, settings, developer. Developer? Does that let me do anything? Wait, is there anything that like already does this? If I search exploit for Umbraco, am I going to find anything? Remote code execution with Metasploit. Metasploit? Is that a thing that will work? Oh, wait. Authenticated remote code execution is just as easily. What's that guy? Nito didn't find anything else. So let's use Metasploit to search for that. See if it works. Upload ASPX. Will that do it? What do I gotta know? It doesn't need like a username though. That's kind of weird to me. Will it just do it? I'm gonna set my L host to my adapter and then I'll just set the R host to 10.10.10 and 180 and just fire the thing off. Execution failed. Okay. Whatever. What was that other one There was a search exploit other one that I saw. Umbraco. Goodness, large terminal size. Make sure you guys can see this thing. Search exploit tac m, this guy. Yeah, I'll just bring it to the current directory. Yeah. For this thing. Umbraco remote code execution by authenticated administrators. That's me. Login password host. It's just forgetting a closing quotation. That's funny. So we have admin at htb.local, and we have bacon and cheese, and our host is 10.10.10.180. Will this just do it? What is it going to do? Launch the attack? What code does it run? Am I going to get like command execution? Execute a calc for the POC. I don't really want that. Can I like ping myself? What's my IP address? Just to see if this thing would work. IP80R. Yeah. That's me. Slap in my address. And let's stop GoBuster because you don't really need to do that. And then let's sudo, can I TCP dump like tac l iton 0 and then look for ICMP? Yeah, I need to specify sudo for that. That's fine. So I just want to get like a proof of concept to see if this thing will actually execute that code. So let me Python 3 that for thing guy. Oh, that needs to have the HTTP schema. It looks like, yeah. How about now? Did it do it, or did I do something wrong? Okay. That's fine. Whatever. I guess we will put that away. We'll search exploit one last time to see what that last thing was. SEO checker plugin. Oh, it's just cross-site scripting. No. Let's do a simple Umbraco exploit search. Oh, NoRaj has one. Authenticated remote code execution. That is the exact same thing that we just saw. This one looks good. Umbraco authenticated RCE. Oh, and you can just pass stuff right through it. So that'd be really easy. You specify commands. What does this thing do? Some advisories on packet storm. A little bit more robust script here. Some argparse. This looks like a modified and better version of the thing that we were just looking at. So the payload is using some XML and XSL to invoke a process. Yeah, oh yeah, it's just running C# through it. Okay. Let's try that guy. It's a Git repository, so I'm going to go ahead and git clone this. And let's try to head over there and run this exploit. I need the username. So tacu admin at htb.local. Password was bacon and cheese. IP address 10.10.10.180. And then the C for the command to run. I'll just do like a simple who am I, get a proof of concept. Oh, that also needs the HTTP prefix. You can tell kind of just by that Python error, like we're missing the schema. See if that gets anything. It does. Okay, so can I do that ping one more time just to kind of like verify? I'm 1427, is that right? What is that doing? Why did that fail? Did that fail? Unrecognized arguments. Oh, the help says I need to specify TAC A to note some args. Okay. So let's fire that off. And there's the ping. Awesome. Okay, so now what? We have code execution, right? We should probably like take note of this simple thing in our notes here. Let's see if we can get a reverse shell. This is a Windows box, right? I could probably run like system info. Yeah, and all this output is coming through. That's awesome. Windows box, x64 processor. It's good to know the architecture. So can I get a reverse shell? On Windows, you might need to do a little bit more clever things because it's not as easy as just running bash. If you want to do a PowerShell reverse shell, Nashang is pretty awesome to do that. Nashang is a framework and collection of scripts and payloads that enables the use of PowerShell for offensive security, pen testing, and red teaming. There is a PowerShell reverse shell that this thing has, and that is in the shells folder here. And there's an invoke PowerShell tcp.ps1. It's pretty decent PowerShell code with a lot of actual description and documentation as to what the heck the thing is doing. There's an example syntax here, so we could work with that. If you don't have that downloaded, you can clone it, you can work with it. I am going to copy that from my op directory. It's in shells, and then I have that invoke PowerShell tcp.ps1. I'll put that here, and then I'll modify that script. There's no like good I don't think there's like a PowerShell display or color scheme in Sublime Text, which is annoying, but we have this example here. So what this is going to essentially allow us to do, and wow, that's just really hard to look at. Can I cat that? Does Bat know how to work with that thing? Yeah, okay, good. So at the end of all this puts together is building out the functionality to use that syntax. Like you would be able to run this and it would create all these functions that you could use or bind these commandlets for you. So what we want to do is at the very, very end actually execute this. So we could just stage this thing to fire off the reverse shell as we need to. I know my IP address was 10.10.14.27 and the port number quad 4 is totally fine to work with. So let's set up a little web server, Python tacm http.server, let that go, and we have our invoke PowerShell TCP in the same directory as we're starting the web server. So I could start my netcat listener to get ready for this thing, and then I can try and fumble with the syntax of actually getting this thing to start. So TAC-C will let me work with a command. So let's run PowerShell. And then we have TAC-A to pass in arguments. I'll make this a little bit easier to read. So I could simply be like echo like hello or please sub just to get a proof of concept that I'm running PowerShell. Oh, and I need to be in that correct directory where that exploit script actually is. So, okay, we get that output. Good sanity check. Now I want to run IEX or invoke expression, so I would be able to run commands from a string. So if I were to try and do that once again, echo please sub following the IEX, this echo is going to come out into kind of standard output, and then IEX will just execute please sub as if it were a command. In this case, obviously there is no command please sub. So that tells me that that syntax might work. So now I'll go ahead and create a new object, and this is going to allow me to do some Windows stuff, PowerShell stuff, to get a web client object, which has the function download string, and that way I could give it my IP address, 10.10.10.14.27, on that port 8000, and download and run, because of this IEX, all that string is going to be pulled in and then executed, invoke PowerShell TCP.ps1. So ideally, we'll see this web server, see the request for that invoke PowerShell TCP. The victim and target will run that code, and then over on the other side here, I'll see my reverse shell come through. So if I whack the enter button, hopefully we'll get some magic, and we do. Now I am on that box. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I can do a little who am I, and looks like I am this weird IIS user. That's fine. Let me go to the root of the directory, root of the file system here, and let's see if I could snag that user flag. Let me check public. There it is. I can run cat because I'm in PowerShell, so there is that user flag. And I can't easily clear my screen. So we'll just pretend you didn't see that. Who cares? Next, we'll want to try to do some enumeration and potentially privesc, do our privilege escalation. So a really good way to do this is to run WinPs or some of the privilege escalation awesome scripts. I'll just search for WinPs and Carlos Polyp. I think I'm butchering pronunciation as always, so forgive me. Awesome Windows privilege escalation tools for Windows and Linux. So you've seen me run LinPs probably all the time on Linux stuff, but WinPs is also really good to work with. They have a batch script rendition of it, and I've seen that fumble for me. I don't know if it's because it's just slow to return or just didn't execute, but the exe file is kind of really what we would love to work with. If I actually go into this here, you note there's a solution file for like actually getting the source code and stuff for working with it within Visual Studio and compiling the thing, but they do offer under bin in this path here, they also offer releases and an x64 or x86 release. So you literally have the executable file you could download and work with. I've tried to click on this and like download it raw, and then I've had my browser yell at me because Chrome would be like, hey, this is dangerous, or Firefox would be like, hey, this file is potentially malicious. With that in mind, this reverse shell that we did trying to run that invoke PowerShell TCP might get triggered by Windows Defender sometimes. I mean, most often if that sort of thing is on, right? So you might not always be able to do this specific thing. In our Hack the Box learning environment, we can totally do that. I'm just going to go ahead and download this with curl, I guess. So I will copy that link address and I will close my silly Meterpreter session because I don't need that anymore. And let's get back to my Hack the Box YouTube remote file folder here. Let me go ahead and download this. So I'll wget winps.exe, or you probably already have that repository cloned and you can just move it in here. Note that this is the 64-bit version. I pulled that one down specifically because we saw in our system info command, that's the same architecture for this victim. That's just kind of a good thing to do. I think the 32-bit one you can usually trust, but anyway, we've got that. So now I actually want to download this file. So I'm going to go back into my reverse shell of the victim, and actually let me mark that as black so you kind of know there's some distinction here. I'll move into a temporary directory. I'll move into C Windows temp. And there's some stuff in here now, but I don't particularly care about it. It actually probably has still some of my remnants of previously working on it. So let's kill those. Yeah. Removing the fourth wall. And let's try and pull this down into this box. We still have our HTTP web server running, so we could transfer files just as easily. Earlier we did this download string. I think there's a download file one as well, but you also just have the kind of classic PowerShell invoke web request. And my face is going to be in the way and I can't clear the screen, so let me make that go away. Invoke web request to download from my IP address 10.10.10.14.27, port 8000, winps.exe. I can pull this down, but it kind of doesn't know what to do with it. So the best thing for us to do is actually bring that to a file. And you can pass that with that invoke web request tac out file argument. So HTTP 14.27 winps, and I'll specify that tac out file location. And I'll just call it like winps.exe. Keep the file name here. Good. That's downloaded. Now if I ls, I should have this file here. Fantastic. So we could simply run this. If we were in cmd.exe, you wouldn't need to specify the /. Since we are in PowerShell, we should to be able to run that out of the current directory. So I'll whack that winpeas.exe, give that just a second, and hopefully it will come back with something. And it did. Okay. Fantastic. What do we got here? You could, of course, do this manual enumeration if you really wanted to. Ooh, that also isn't giving me a full, like, scroll back. Dislike. Could I download this? I'm trying to think of a decent way to be able to pull this back down to the victim. You know what? I think a good thing to do would actually just be get a interpreter shell in here, because that would just kind of make kind of our control a little bit easier. So I like to just use some of the interpreter cheat sheets or MSF Venom to be able to craft that and create that. NetSec has a really good one that I always reference because it helps me not think. And it just will give me the quick and easy payload. I know it's easy, Windows interpreter reverse TCP, but I always fumble with like the architecture and whether or not I need to specify that. So I will steal this command and I'll get back to my Sublime text just so I can kind of have a window to tinker with this command. My IP address needs to be filled in here, 1427, and we'll listen on, I guess, quad 6. There we go, and we'll call this like meterpreter.exe. Good. Whack that out. That will go ahead and create a prepackaged binary and download, like actual program that we could run, put on the host, put on the victim, and then have it call back to our own interpreter shell. So let me MSF console this guy so I can prepare the handler, like the listener that will be able to catch this reverse shell. And then we still have our HTTP server running down here. I'll use exploit multi-handler. And I will show options to sanity check the things that I need to change. We do need to set our L host to ourselves. We do need to set our L port to our port that we wanted to listen on. And we should set the payload to the same thing that we told MSF Venom to use. So I will set payload to that guy. And now I can run and start up that listener. So back over in our victim, because we have just that simple meterpreter.exe file ready to download in the same directory, what I'll do is I'll once again use that invoke web request to download this guy. Invoke web request, my IP, and save that to a file. We'll just call it met.exe. Good. Kind of zooming out here, I do have this met.exe. Good. So my meterpreter shell should be all set and ready to catch that. So if I were to /met, you can see that meterpreter session 1 opened up on the top here. Fantastic. Now I can upload and download things a little bit easily, and that might be convenient for actually checking out the rest of that WinPeas enumeration script. Let me go ahead and check out my current directory. I'm still in the temporary file, so I will actually use this shell to be able to run winpeas.exe one more time, and I'll save it to like winout.log. And hopefully when I get my prompt back, that will behave for me. Good. Now I can download that winout.log because that's in the current directory. And meterpreter is the one that has that download command. I wouldn't be able to kind of easily do that on the victim without being able to like spin up an HTTP server or netcat or file transfer. So meterpreter just kind of makes that nice and easy for me. So now let me go ahead and less tack R that winout file. Yep, that's totally fine. Yes. Do I actually have content in that? Oh boy. Did it just do it? It did just do it. Does that not want to work? Can I cat winout.log? Okay, sure. That works just fine for me and Bat will handle it. Now I can actually read through all the stuff that the WinPiece gave me. It would probably have just been smarter and better to have an actual scroll back on here or use Tmux or a better thing that will help me actually view the output of, but that was just some quick problem solving to be able to see the rest of this. And it's good to have Meterpreter on there. Ooh, Windows Vuln search powered by Watson. Looks like this has a lot of stuff that could potentially be vulnerable for. User environment variables, computer name is remote. Username is remote. System environment variable, stuff that we've seen before. LSA protection. No AV was detected. That's probably why we were able to totally run Meterpreter and a reverse shell. Normally you wouldn't see that happen on a Windows target. PowerShell stuff. Drives information.
All right, I'm probably gonna have to call it on that one. I am not feeling super well. I've got like a major headache, so I will. I'll catch you guys back on.